Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Thanks for joining us here for the news on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley. We start with a story out of Hampton County where two sheriff's deputies were injured following an incident that involved a patrol car being stolen. Here's what we know. It happened near the Charleston Highway. Officials say a high-speed pursuit happened, which ended when the stolen patrol car was stopped near Palmetto Avenue and Cemetery Road. The suspect in the chase is now in custody. The Hampton County Sheriff's Office says two deputies sustained injuries during the incident, and they were taken to a medical facility for evaluation and treatment. Hampton County Sheriff said, quote, their conditions are being monitored at this time, and the Sheriff's Office went on to say that their prayers are with their deputies. Well, we do have a WTOC update to a story we first brought you yesterday. A 17-year-old was seriously injured after being shot on Savannah's east side Monday morning. It happened just after 10:30 a.m. near Forest Avenue. Savannah police say the juvenile was shot in the abdomen in an alley, but was able to run into a nearby home. Police say the shooting wasn't a random act and that the suspect and the victim knew each other. At last word, the victim is still in the hospital. Police say this investigation is ongoing. Well, a Bacon County jailer is facing serious felony charges, being accused of having sexual contact with an inmate. An investigation found that 44-year-old David Jackson had sexual contact with a female inmate on multiple occasions. Investigators say Jackson also brought contraband into the jail several times. He's now facing 3 felony charges: improper sexual contact by an employee, possession of items prohibited for inmates, and violating his oath of office. Well, the Savannah Hilton Head International Airport is growing, which is something we've been reporting for months and, frankly, years now. Today, airport leadership and stakeholders are going over the vision for the airport's next 20 years. The growth is expected, something they've been tracking for more than 10 years. Leaders say they may have to lose some of the southern charm that we're used to seeing, though, to make sure renovations and expansions are all up to par. The new gate expansion project that'll add 4 more gates is expected to be completed this year. Other changes include building a new interchange system near the airport, changing traffic lights on Benton Boulevard, and growing the parking lot to 9,000 total spots. Airport Commission Executive Director Greg Kelly says it's important to remember where we came from, being known as a small airport. But he says things have to change. Despite being ranked number 1 in the airport across the country for years in a row, some of the infrastructure is around 30 years old.
It's a priority of ours to try to maintain at the end of the projects that same kind of feeling that the users of the airport are used to. But to get to that point, it's going to be basically pardon our mess for the next 3 years on the terminal building as we add on and modernize.
Their next meeting with more pictures and diagrams will be either late March or early April. Well, Georgia's 40-day legislative session is now underway. Lawmakers are expected to tackle issues impacting families, schools, and taxes. Lawmakers were welcomed with heightened security and growing public pressure. A long line wrapped around the Capitol yesterday as visitors waited to pass through security. Inside, they marked the new session emphasizing cooperation. Advocacy groups gathered with signs and speeches highlighting topics like education funding, gun safety, and public trust in government.
I'm very, very concerned about bills that would restrict our freedoms.
I think the most important message is for the legislators to be aware that their constituents really care.
5 lawmakers were also sworn in on opening day after winning special elections last year to fill vacant seats. Of course, we will have plenty of updates throughout this year's legislative session. Abby Kasoris, our state reporter, will have live updates each evening on WTOC, and then we'll have her latest each morning as well on WTOC Plus right here. And as the state legislative session resumes, advocates are pushing hard on issues related to cannabis. Groups from across Georgia are speaking out on medical use, adult use, decriminalization, and the need to end stigma. Now, Georgia is currently a medical cannabis state, meaning only eligible patients can purchase and possess low THC products. Advocates say legislators need to hear the requests as they push for more than a dozen bills this session. The focus includes expanding medical options, protecting patients from incarceration, and increasing access for those who rely on cannabis for health and wellness.
It's a little bit preaching to the choir because we all love this incredible plant. It's still within the walls of a building that doesn't hear enough about how incredible this plant is and how essential it is for our survival, I think.
Advocates hope this session will bring concrete changes, and they're ready to push lawmakers to act on cannabis legislation that's been in the making for years now. Well, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp will deliver his final State of the State address at the state capitol. He's expected to outline his priorities for the legislative session on Thursday. Now, the State of the State is happening at 11 a.m. You can stream it live here on Thursday on WTOC+. The governor is in his second consecutive term, which runs until January of next year. In state news, a Georgia prison brawl left 3 inmates dead and families searching for answers. An eyewitness says it happened all inside the prison's visitation area, where she says a group of inmates burst through bloodied and armed, leaving visitors scrambling. Maggie Fitzgerald has the story.
Just now hitting me how dangerous it really was, how much worse it could have been.
An eyewitness says it all happened in seconds. A routine Sunday visit with a loved one at Washington State Prison turning into a nightmare. The witness asked to remain anonymous for her safety, but she says something felt off when she saw guards bolt out of the visitation area Sunday afternoon, leaving one female officer inside.
Something going on. We heard very loud, almost yelling coming from the walkie-talkies. You could hear her say, "Don't open that door, you can't come in here."
Shouting from the guard, first directed at inmates deeper into the facility, then to visitors, telling them to get out. The witness says the group overpowered a guard, taking his keys to then break into the visiting room.
The prisoners that were trying to come through the door were right behind her, hot on her heels, because there's blood and weapons, and they just busted through a door. They're standing between us and our loved ones.
The riot-style attack left 3 men dead, including 23-year-old Ahmad Hatcher. Hatcher's family says they are demanding answers and accountability, claiming he had warned his mother about unsafe conditions inside the prison.
A piece of my heart just was torn out of my chest. He was scared of his life. They were a cause of my son to get killed because they wasn't doing their job.
Turning now to health news, flu cases have skyrocketed in both Georgia and across the country, but health officials are warning that those illness numbers are still likely to climb. The Atlanta-based Centers for Disease Control estimates more than 15 million cases nationwide this season. The CDC released this map. It shows multiple states experiencing high or very high levels of the flu. Georgia is labeled under very high. Across the country, roughly 180,000 people have been hospitalized and more than 7,000 have died. Most of the cases are from a severe strain of the flu known as subclade K.
This subclade K, which is a new strain that probably is not included in the current vaccine.
The CDC estimates 130 million doses of the vaccine have been distributed nationwide this season, but that covers less than 40% of the U.S. population. Doctors do still encourage you to get the flu shot. In sports news, the return of a franchise legend. Matt Ryan was officially introduced as the Falcons' president of football. In his new role, Ryan will oversee all aspects of the team. He will report directly to owner Arthur Blank. Now, Ryan spent 14 of his 15 NFL seasons with the Falcons, and earlier today, during a press conference, Ryan had this message for the Dirty Bird Nation.
To the Falcons fans, my mission since I was drafted has never changed. You know, it is to help this organization do everything it can to be champions and to win championships. And there is a sense of unfinished business.
One of Ryan's first top priorities is to get a new head coach for the Falcons. He says he's confident in his search to find the right fit, and Ryan is already conducting interviews for head coach. The latest addition to his list, former Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is interviewing with the team. McDaniel actually coached Matt Ryan from 2015 to 2016 with the Falcons. McDaniel has become the 6th head coach candidate for the Falcons, joining former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh, which was also announced today, along with Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, Seattle Seahawks coordinators Clint Cobain and Aiden Dudry, and former Cleveland head coach Kevin Stefanski. Well, in consumer news, an inclusive Barbie doll is now in store shelves, but Mattel is receiving mixed reviews for its newest doll. Sydney Stallworth with our sister station in Atlanta spoke with people both in Georgia and around the country about this new Barbie with autism.
I think it's so cool that they're actually doing a doll that's actually inclusive for people who have autism. Is so cool.
Brittany Thornton, a Metro Atlanta mom of 3, is celebrating the rollout of Mattel's newest Barbie doll, a doll with autism.
My oldest and my youngest daughter have autism, but my youngest one, she uses the AAC device every day as well as headphones.
She tells us the details are what matter most to her youngest.
It has an AAC device as well as a headphones and fidget spinners.
Mattel says the doll was designed with guidance from the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. It also has articulated elbows and wrists to allow for movements like hand flapping, also known as stimming in the autism community. The doll's eyes are slightly averted, reflecting how some autistic people tend to avoid direct eye contact.
That kind of just boosts the morale and helps with the inclusion, because a lot of people don't really understand autism too well, and that can be one of the ways that we help further with autism awareness.
Autism awareness is a life mission for one familiar face.
I think that the initial inclination probably is going to be either that folks are expecting stereotypical, right? That they're almost like a caricature of someone, or that they're just going to be confused by the idea that the autism doesn't look like anything,
Jennifer Cook from the hit Netflix show Love on the Spectrum is also a board member for Autism Society of America.
I'm on the autism spectrum, and I'll get the, well, I couldn't tell, right? There's a joke that people say, I'm sorry, I'll do an autism for you now. Right? So, or I forgot to wear my I'm autistic t-shirt today, right? It doesn't work that way.
A psychologist from Children's Healthcare of Atlanta is celebrating the doll, saying it shows the beauty and value of people with autism. But the National Council on Severe Autism is sharing a different perspective, saying Mattel's latest Barbie barely scratches the surface. The executive director writing, quote, "This is not a story about a doll. This is about how autism has been rebranded, monetized, and flattened into something safe for public consumption, while the people with the highest needs remain excluded from public life, public policy, and public concern." Sydney Stallworth, Atlanta News First.
All right, in some national news, visitors to the country's national parks now have to pay up extra if they want to see America's most iconic landmarks. Park rangers at the Grand Canyon say the new rules are already sparking plenty of questions at the gate. Mason Carroll takes us through those new concerns.
A new year means new changes at national parks. One of the biggest changes won't impact U.S. citizens, but international tourists will have to pay $100 to enter parks like the Grand Canyon. On the outside, it was business as usual at the Grand Canyon Park entrance. But a new policy has been implemented, meaning foreigners now have to pay a higher fee.
So our fee staff are still answering a lot of questions from people who are confused, understandably, about this change.
Joelle Baird is the park's public affairs officer.
Hey, how's it going?
She says a form of identification is already needed to buy the annual park pass. And now staff at the gate are also asking people where they're visiting from.
These types of questions are our fee rangers are already accustomed to asking. They're just having to ask another additional questions for proof of residency.
The Trump administration announced the change late last year, calling it an America First policy. So at the entrance gate of 11 of the most popular national parks, including the Grand Canyon, international visitors will have to pay an extra $100 per person to enter, or pay $250 for the annual pass instead of $80 for U.S. citizens.
Traveling the U.S. is one of the great joys, that the natural landscapes of the American West is unique in the world.
Karsten Braun is from Massachusetts. He's now a U.S. citizen, but first came to the U.S. as an international tourist. So he's not in favor of the fee increase.
Sends a completely wrong message. What we want is welcome people to the United States. We want to welcome tourism.
Many businesses have told us in the past they're already hurting from low international tourism and are worried about what this new policy could mean for their financial future.
That should be revenue for tourism. We should welcome people here. So charging for it, in my opinion, makes no sense.
Now, other national parks have reported long lines at entrance gates. Baird says it hasn't been too much of an issue, but it could take a little longer as gate rangers are answering questions. But we'll have to wait to see the full effect until peak season this summer. For now, reporting from the Grand Canyon, Mason Carroll for Arizona's Family.
All right, slight sidebar after watching that story. I think a lot of y'all know this. I went to college in Arizona, in Phoenix, and spent a lot of time up in the northern part of the state, Sedona, the Grand Canyon. In my opinion, maybe the most beautiful landscapes in the country. Red Rock Country, Flagstaff, that area, just the geography. A lot of people think it's just desert, but my goodness, if you ever want to really get out in nature, go check out some of Arizona's landscapes, especially the northern part of the state. Sedona might be my favorite place to visit and travel to. Incredible hiking as well. Just wanted to put it out there for anyone watching. All right, well, before we sign off here on WTOC Plus, Savannah is getting ready to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day with a big parade. And according to Mayor Van Johnson, this is the largest MLK parade in the country.
We've been told that Atlanta used to have the largest one, obviously. They changed it to more of a march than a parade. So we're going to own the largest parade. I don't know of other parade in the country that's 3 hours long that has, 300 plus units that you start during breakfast and you end during lunch.
And we've got you covered so you can check all the parade action in one space Monday at 10 a.m. You can stream the parade live in its entirety. It's going to be pretty cold, so bundle up and watch inside. You can stream it on WTOC Plus right here. We'll also have it on the main TV channel as well on WTOC. All right, that's going to wrap things up this afternoon. We'll be back in just about 15 minutes because as we get ready for the new legislative session, both Republicans and Democrats are outlining their priorities for the next 40 days to impact state law. The Senate GOP is holding a press conference at 2:30. We're going to be carrying that right here on WTOC Plus, so we'll be back in just about 15 minutes for that. And in the meantime, you can always head on over to our website for the latest updates at WTOC.com. Thanks for watching, and for the next 10-15 minutes, here's Local News Live.